3,000 years ago, an extraordinary people rose from humble beginnings to force their will on the world. They created the greatest empire mankind had ever seen. An empire that stretched from Britain to the Middle East. It lasted 1,000 years and shaped the way we live today. I'm Larry Lamb, actor, radio presenter, and history fanatic.
I feel like a kid at Christmas.
In this series, I'm going to travel back beyond the marble monuments to ask who these people were and why they were so successful.
Wow.
From the empire's earliest ruins to her first conquests in Africa. From kingdom to republic, from Romulus and Remus to Julius Caesar. I want to uncover the extraordinary story of how Rome became the world's first superpower. I've come to the island of Sicily, caught midway between these two opposing forces. This became the flashpoint for an epic conflict known as the Punic Wars. It would rage for 100 years. This central position of Sicily within the influence of both cities meant things here were certainly going to come to a head. And in 264 BC, they very definitely did. A local dispute gave the Romans the excuse they needed. In a deliberately provocative move, they sent supplies and troops to support one side, forcing the Carthaginians to support the other. The clash for supremacy in the Western Mediterranean had begun. But in confronting this new enemy, Rome faced a significant problem. The Carthaginian Empire had been built on the strength of its navy. So, to achieve an undisputed victory, Rome needed to defeat them out there, at sea. But with no navy and no naval tradition, how could the land-based Romans challenge this established maritime power and expect to win? The answer to that was revealed in an astonishing archaeological discovery. In the 1970s, the timbers of a Carthaginian warship were recovered from the depths. They suggest that these master craftsmen might have scored a spectacular own goal.
It was a very important moment for the Romans. We found a ship. It was a Punic warship. We found in the planks Punic writings that were done by the carpenter to join the different pieces.
So each piece had a number or a figure,
and
that fitted into that piece. These Punic symbols were basically assembly instructions for a sort of flat-pack navy, telling Carthaginian shipbuilders which piece fitted where. Trouble was, if they could read them, so could the Romans.
This, I think, that helped so much the Romans. They were taking some boats, some ships, they were taking to their docks, then they were dismantling and studying how they were built.
They took them to pieces, yeah?
Yes.
And looked at each piece and how that fitted together.
Yes. They understood little by little how to build a ship.
The Romans immediately set to work and built a fleet of 120 warships in just 60 days. But with no tradition of navigation or fighting at sea, they still needed to rely on their skills as a land army. But how? Their solution was sheer genius. It was a secret weapon that would take the Carthaginians completely by surprise. It was known as the corvus, the crow. It was a hinged wooden bridge that swung out over the bow of the ship and dropped onto the enemy vessel. Giant spikes on the underside smashed into the timbers and pinned the two ships together, allowing the Romans to board the enemy ship. The corvus had its first outing at the Battle of Mylae, off northern Sicily, in 260 BC, and it took the Carthaginians completely off guard. The Corvus effectively turned the battle into a fight on land, giving the Romans the advantage they needed. They sank or captured 50 enemy ships and lost just 11 of their own. But the war raged on for another 20 years, allowing Rome to sharpen their seafaring skills until they could take on the Carthaginians at their own game. Nowhere was this demonstrated more clearly than in 241 BC, in the biggest sea battle of the First Punic War, the one that would decide the outcome.
Everything we know about this battle comes from histories written at least 60 years after the event, so we can't be sure how reliable they are. But now, state-of-the-art underwater archaeology is providing hard evidence and turning myths into reality and revealing the first ancient naval battle site. And I'm going to get to go and see it firsthand.
I'm aboard the scientific research vessel Hercules and heading to the waters off the northwest coast of Sicily. Legend has it this pivotal encounter took place here, near the Egadi Islands. Polybius describes how ships fitted with metal battering rams attacked each other head-on. Maneuvering an entire warship into position for a precision attack like this requires the very highest level of seamanship. So, for centuries, historians took these grand claims with a pinch of salt. But since 2005, Dr. Jeff Royal and his team have used echo sounding and robotic cameras to search these waters for evidence to support Polybius's account.
Just spin a little and see what's hand through right or spin through right. Yeah, just spin the whole spin right.
Recently, Dr. Royal's team struck pure archaeological gold, or more accurately, bronze. Breaking the surface for the first time in nearly 2,500 years, this is one of those actual battering rams. But it's only the latest of 11 rams discovered here since 2008, all of which have amazing stories to tell about the epic battle that took place here.
Having studied the artifacts, we see rams that have frontal damage. No other damage on the rams, except in frontal damage where it appears they've struck something that was equally as hard, and in one case actually dented it in a V shape that matches the front end of other rams.
It must have been an incredible sight. 450 warships jostling for position, trying to smash and tear holes in the enemy, all fueled by a bitter mutual hatred. And just how bitter is revealed in a message to the gods etched on one of those battering rams.
This is Punic one because we know from the inscription that is written, it says that Baal, that was the most important Punic god,
Right.
that Baal could let penetrate this object into the body of the enemy ship.
In the same way that they used to paint inscriptions on bombs in the Second World War, yeah?
Yes.
Send this one to Hitler or something, yeah.
Even though they outnumber the Romans by 50 vessels, the Carthaginians' prayers fell on deaf ears. Their losses ran to 120 warships, 4 times the Roman casualties.
And for me, that says exactly why the Romans would always rise above the rest. I mean, who else would challenge Carthage at sea, expecting to win, and even at those odds, come out on top?
Defeating the Punic navy meant the war was over, leaving Rome the master of the known world for the moment.